What's up, guys? It's time to take a news dump.
So the last 10 years has been an absolute renaissance in big budget blockbuster filmmaking thanks to superhero movies not totally sucking ass for the first time in film history.
Yeah.
Okay, sure, the Superman movies from the 70s and 80s and then the Tim Burton Batman movies of the early 90s, they were well liked and commercially successful for their time. But they are the rare exception.
Yeah, the vast majority of superhero film projects since basically the dawn of film have been cheaply made, poorly acted, unfaithful to the source material, and have completely alienated their source material's audience. Hell, even after Tim Burton proved that yes, you can actually make a pretty damn good big budget superhero movie for adults that critics and audiences will like, somehow we ended up with whatever the fuck this is just a few years later in the same series of films.
Yeah, thanks Joel Schumacher. Anyway, fast forward to the 21st century and creators like Chris Nolan, Joss Whedon, and Zack Snyder have more than proven that superhero movies for fans, by fans, is a highly successful and at this point, pretty safe way for studios to do business. Even risky movies like Guardians of the Galaxy and Ant-Man, whose source comics aren't exactly mainstream knowledge, have been massively successful thanks to moviegoers' trust in Marvel's track record.
As great as this all is, as fans of movies in all genres, we have to admit that we do feel some serious superhero fatigue, at times.
Yeah.
It's kind of overwhelming, especially when you look at the release schedules for DC and Marvel properties, which show no signs of slowing down for at least the next 5 years.
But will they eventually slow down? Are superhero movies a phase? A really, really, really profitable phase? Well, Steven Spielberg says yes.
Yeah, he does.
Back in 2013, while promoting his movie Lincoln, Spielberg said that it's getting harder and harder to get studios to make movies that aren't big budget, big profit blockbusters, and that despite his own vast filmmaking pedigree, Lincoln almost wasn't picked up by a studio for theatrical release and nearly ended up as an HBO movie.
In retrospect, maybe it should have.
It got awards.
It was a real snoozer. Anyways, he predicted that at some point in the future there will be a situation where half a dozen or so $250 million budget movies flop at the box office and cause an implosion in the film industry and a huge paradigm shift in how things are done.
Synergy.
Yeah.
This week, in an interview with the Associated Press about his upcoming film Bridge of Spies, Spielberg went further, singling out the superhero genre as something that definitely won't be here forever. He was asked, "You caused a stir 2 years ago when you predicted Hollywood was headed towards an implosion because of the overabundance of mega-budget movies. Do you still feel that way?"
To which he replied, "I do. I still feel that way. We were around when the Western died, and there will be a time when the superhero movie goes the way of the Western. It doesn't mean there won't be another occasion where the Western comes back and the superhero movie someday returns. Of course, right now, the superhero movie is alive and thriving. I'm only saying that these cycles have a finite time in popular culture. There will come a day when the mythological stories are supplanted by some other genre that possibly some young filmmaker is just thinking about discovering for all of us." Although, Westerns are kind of having a comeback with Tarantino.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
And then it's also important to note that movies like Mad Max could be considered Westerns in their own way.
Well, and it's, it kind of mirrors the music industry too. Like you had hair metal, and then you had grunge, and then you had screamo, and now you have EDM, which is right on the cusp of just imploding.
Oh, and it will. Everything's cycles.
Do you bring up We Are Your Friends in this one?
We get to it.
All right.
Stay tuned for that. Anyway, it would be hard to take these comments too seriously if they weren't spoken by Steven Spielberg, who has spent his entire career making films in a ton of different genres and different budgets, and is also himself hugely responsible for huge popcorn moneymakers like Jurassic Park, E.T., War of the Worlds, Jaws, the Indiana Jones movies, and so on and so on and so on.
Yeah, so he's not just some indie filmmaker lamenting the fact that he can't get a studio to buy his script about gay cowboys eating pudding.
That's what they are.
He knows blockbuster filmmaking probably better than any other director. You could argue that he and George Lucas invented it. Hell, he's the executive producer of 2015's most profitable film, Jurassic World.
Yeah, so he's saying this from the inside out.
Yeah.
But anyway, with big studios placing most of their bets on really expensive projects, it's not hard to see how a few years down the line, your average Joe says, "Black Panther? Nah. Doctor Strange? Nah. This all looks like the same damn shit I've already seen at the theaters every time I go for the last 5 years." So if enough people start actually feeling that way, studios could be out a lot of money.
It's just depending on how long it takes to feel that way, honestly.
Yeah.
For now though, superheroes run this town, so maybe Spielberg should take his more nuanced ideas over to Netflix or Hulu or HBO because they're quickly eclipsing cinema as the place to go for top-notch storytelling and acting.
Yeah, I mean,
go out of the theater.
Yeah, if you want to make something smart and clever and well acted,
you gotta be at home and have a glass of wine and enjoy it.
Yeah. binge.
Yeah.
Anyway, here's some good news for people who think superhero movies have become a little bit formulaic, like we do. Some recent shakeups at Marvel could mean a lot more creativity and variety in their film projects.
Now, when you think of who's running things at Marvel Studios, you probably think of good old Kevin Feige. But you'd actually be dead wrong because the entire time Feige has been reporting to Ike Perlmutter. Perlmutter.
Anyway, yeah, he's Marvel's rarely seen CEO who's been running things behind the scenes in the shadows since his company Toy Biz merged with Marvel in the late 90s to save them from bankruptcy. I'd completely forgotten that even happened.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a time when Marvel was way down the shit.
Yeah.
They like owed $600 million to the government.
Anyways, that's all changing now, with Kevin Feige now running Marvel Studios and reporting directly to Disney studio chief Alan Horn, after Feige reportedly complained to Disney CEO Bob Iger earlier this summer about wanting to break free from Ike's control. Anyways, the Disney press release said,
Marvel Studios is taking the next logical step in its integration with the Walt Disney Studios, joining Pixar and Lucasfilm in centralizing many of its film-related functions in Burbank, with Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige and co-president Louis D'Esposito continuing to lead the Marvel Studio team, reporting to Walt Disney Studios chairman Alan Horn.
And then, just a day later, Devin Faraci of Birth Movies Death wrote that he had insider knowledge saying that the Marvel Creative Committee was also done. Now, what's that, you ask? Well, according to Faraci, it was, quote, a group of people who would give notes and thoughts on Marvel productions as they made their way from script to screen.
Committees. That's always a good way to do things.
Yeah.
The committee included Marvel Comics writer Brian Michael Bendis, great writer, Marvel publisher Dan Buckley, Marvel Enterprises Chief Creative Officer Joe Quesada, who's also formerly the editor-in-chief, and Marvel Entertainment President Alan Fine. Which on paper, that sounds like a group of guys who would know what's best for Marvel. But in practice, it was supposedly really stifling to all the writers and directors that were brought in to make Marvel movies.
Yeah, directors like Edgar Wright, who notoriously parted ways with Ant-Man after years of development. Edgar Wright is not the kind of filmmaker who wants to make decisions by committee. I think most directors probably aren't.
Yeah.
Especially when the committee is notoriously late with notes and none of the committee members are actual filmmakers.
Yeah, I can see how that would be incredibly frustrating. Yeah. So Devin Faraci and Heroic Hollywood's El Mayembe both seem to think that this is a pretty damn big deal with some real positive consequences for the Marvel movies farther down the line. And I mean, they're pretty knowledgeable about this stuff, I trust them, but yeah. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Everything's so far into development, you probably won't see any like real effects of this for at least like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, at least Infinity War, that hasn't gone into production and it won't for a while, so maybe that'll be the start of it.
Yeah, also a fun fact, the whole reason that there wasn't any Black Widow on like any kids merchandise was because Ike Perlmutter, he's like, I ran a toy company for 30 years.
I'm pretty sure.
No one's gonna want Black Widow.
I know what the kids want. Ike Perlmutter or whatever fucking knows what the kids want. Anyways, enough deep analysis. Let's talk shit about an easy target because We Are Your Friends, that Zac Efron DJ movie we've been dreading for months, came out last weekend and made box office history as the 4th lowest earning wide release film ever.
Yes, with an opening weekend box office of just $1.77 million, they didn't even come close to earning back their fairly modest $6 million budget, probably because anyone actually interested in watching a movie about an aspiring EDM DJ isn't old enough to see an R-rated movie.
Yeah. Hell, it made less money in its opening weekend than Fantastic Four, which came out a month ago. It made less money than Minions, which came out 2 months ago. It made less than Jurassic World, which came out 3 fucking months ago.
So, I mean, it feels great to have our open hostility towards this movie validated by the general public.
Yeah, thanks,
really
guys.
Feels great. Though, from what I hear, it's actually not that bad. Just really poorly marketed. So, oh well, I'll probably watch it when it ends up on Netflix in like 2 weeks or whatever.
I won't watch it. Anyways, to close out this dump, here's a picture of American President Lyndon B. Johnson.
Just kidding, that's Bryan fucking Cranston. Fooled you.
Yeah, he fooled us too.
Yep, looks like Cold War era screenwriter Dalton Trumbo isn't the only historical figure that Heisenberg is gonna be bringing to the big screen.
Cranston will be playing LBJ in the HBO film adaptation of the Broadway play All the Way, which Cranston also starred in and won a Tony for. It takes place immediately following the assassination of John F. Kennedy, when Johnson suddenly was no longer just vice president and now had to actually run a country. And it follows him through the next several months while he fought to pass the 1964 Civil Rights Act and win the next election.
Yeah, so all we have to go off of it at this point are the stellar reviews for the play, it was apparently awesome, and this photograph. But damn, it's just so great to see Bryan Cranston truly taking Hollywood by storm as leading man. And you know, he got the Tony, maybe he can get the Oscar, because he already has an Emmy. All he has to do is get a Grammy after that, and he's got the EGOT.
If he doesn't get it, I will proudly say that life is unfair. It's a Malcolm in the
Malcolm in
Middle.
the Middle. Anyway, that's News Dump, guys.
Tomorrow, Lil Dicky podcast.
Yeah.
Everybody's been waiting for it. Everyone's been asking us about it. Everyone's been leaving hateful
Yeah,
comments.
there's like conspiracy theories, like, maybe it didn't go so well.
Yeah. Anyways, it's going up tomorrow, so there you go, take that. And watch our other stuff this week. We have a brand new episode of Tugs. We have a brand new Weekly Weird. And watch that Ed Skrein podcast, because it was good.
He's a top quality lad.
Yeah.
We had some great banter.
Good
He's
stuff.
an absolute ledge.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, and Dungeon Boss is out. They're the ones that sent us to PAX, so go down there, download their game. We'll put links in the description. It's actually good. I played it. It was great. I'm still playing it.
You playing it right now?
Yep. There it is. Have a good weekend.